My name is Toya Singh, joining you live from New Delhi.
Also coming up on the program, what does it take to be the queen of not just your world, but of a erstwhile estate here in India? We'll decode all of that. I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. Let's get started. The rise of identity theft, how secure is your information, virtual world, but real threats, how identity theft is ruining lives in the digital era. But how do we protect ourselves? An explainer coming up.
And then, as we told you a little while earlier, the Maharani of Baroda is bringing us a breakdown, everything it takes to be a royal inside and outside the ordinary life of an extraordinary queen. We'll understand how she spends her day. She is our person of interest.
I want to just start by understanding this. What does a day in a life for Maharani really look at? And let's start with breakfast.
Well, honestly, it begins with what is going to be prepared in your khana, lunch, dinner and the next breakfast. So I think it's as mundane and regular as it is for most women.
Does bigger mean better? The 2024 Hyundai Alza facelift is tested. Review of the Hyundai's updated SUV, the space, the power, the tech behind it. We'll bring you the overdrive verdict.
And lastly, we take you to the screening of Citadel and all of the highlights that came out of it. Obviously, on your screen, you are seeing the gorgeous Priyanka Chopra there at the screening, but also there Samantha and Matilda, the queen of glamour, PC, taking London by storm. All of the others also joining her, looking equally glamorous, and we bring you everything that took place in London.
In today's digital age, our identity is the new currency. Safeguarding personal information in this extremely virtual world that we live is key. The more we are online, the more vulnerable we become offline. And securing money is directly related to securing your identity. Just a bank account won't cut it anymore. Now, why am I telling you all of this? Because today on the program, we're going to be discussing what is identity theft. Identity theft occurs when someone impersonates you and uses your personal information to commit fraud and gain other financial benefits. Your name, your home address, email address, password, social security number, Aadhaar number, driving license, the list is really long, can be easily leaked. All of these or some of these can be procured and then abused for several reasons that will cost you later.
So we thought we'd bring you some real-life examples of how this has taken place in the last few years, just to give you a taste. We're going to take you all the way back to 2022, when very prominently, several Indians complained on social media that unaccounted loans were actually appearing within their credit history, even as they themselves had never borrowed any money. This is from the India Bulls-owned Dhani Loans and Services. Fraudsters had reportedly used PAN details and they'd used those details to take out instant loans in other people's names. People actually faced show cause notices for defaulting on their loans, and these are all loans, remember, that they never took. Their identity was stolen. There's one more example we're going to bring you here. 2018, a private employee, Naveen Jyoti, filed a police complaint alleging that fraudsters had used all of his personal information to obtain a credit card. This is from SBI, State Bank of India, in his name. Fraudsters used the credit card. They spent 88,000 rupees. Police conducted an entire investigation and fraudsters involved were apprehended in this case. But it's not just normal people, and that's really what we want to highlight. Anyone can come under the spell of identity thieves. Even celebs have fallen prey in the past. Kim Kardashian, a prominent example. She spoke about how ID theft took place with her back in 2014. You had a certain man, his name was Luis Flores Jr., he's 19 years old. He called up American Express and he said that Kim Kardashian or Kim K's social security number, he modified all of it, her addresses were modified so that his own was put instead and so that he could receive all of her new cards. And these examples, the ones we're bringing you, are just a few examples. India has the third highest number. We're really scaring our audiences this morning, but we want you to be aware. India has the third highest number of users that have been compromised. Two other countries, US and Iran, stand in front of us.
Not scaring at all, actually. This is just to sort of bring the information out there and to bring you and make you aware of the fact that this is happening all around us. So you need to be alert. But what exactly is identity stolen? How does it happen? Now, over the years, identity thieves have become, the methods have become much more complex. There are numbers of ways in which they actually do it, using data breach to steal electronic records. That's a valid one. Goes into the dark web. You never know what happens to it after that. Utilizing online methods such as there is adware, malware, spam, all of that. Also acquiring your personal records from a victim's workplace, or just an innocent call that you will get from a customer service saying, sir, we want to sell you this and that. Could you give us these details? And there you go. You've not just lost your identity, you've lost a lot of money.
Yeah, your wallet. If your wallet or your purse ever goes missing, it could have been taken to obtain all of your ID cards, your credit cards, your bank cards. Swiping personal information shared on unsecured websites, that's another big one. Public Wi-Fi networks. You're going in somewhere, suddenly the option of using Wi-Fi appears. Being careful about that. Purchasing personal details from an inside third-party source, such as a company employee with access to credit applications. To understand the myriad of ways further, we have with us on the show two guests to take us deeper.
We've got Advocate Khushbu Jain with us, a cyber law expert and a Supreme Court lawyer. Also with us is Dr. Muktesh Chandar, IPS. He's a retired IPS officer, ex-DGP Goa and cyber expert as well. Both Khushbu and Muktesh Chandar have been regular on TBC, and we've been trying to decode lots of scams over here. But Khushbu, let me begin with you. You wrote a very interesting article recently on what these identity thefts are. And the eye-opener for me really there was that it's not just one kind. If you look into it and if you think about it, even deep fakes are identity theft of a sort. Even, impersonating someone is an identity theft of some sort. But at the moment, how prevalent is this and how can one really go about it?
You have raised a very valid point. We are living in the age of digital. It's a digital era that we are living into, and identity, a digital identity becomes a very paramount here, because practically now today you and me would not go and show our face, and the trust comes over here. The trust comes with the identity, and that digital identity plays a very important role. Tomorrow we are talking about getting into meta world. So here identity. Now how these criminals are doing it, I was listening both of you talking about that, how this happens, and it's absolutely how this happens. They steal your identity, identity card, and then they make use of it. There is identity theft, there is identity fraud, then there is synthetic identity. And now with combining all of these things, it becomes very difficult for anybody to catch hold of these criminals. Now, if I talk about identity theft, that's nothing but stealing your information. And by stealing your information, they can utilize that information for their benefit. Like, for example, I steal your credentials, I steal your banking details or your card number and your PIN. Now I can make use of it. Identity fraud. Fraud is something where I can create with your identity, I create another bank account. I take loan on your name. So practically, I am the one who's taking it, but I am benefited, but drawback comes to you. Number two. Number three that comes is synthetic identity. Now, synthetic identity is nothing but combination. It can be a combination of some real numbers, and then I generate some additional number to it. So practically, I'm not impersonating Sonal or Khushbu, but with that identity, I'm creating another one. So there would be less chances of people complaining. Here is where the problem will come, that they drain the economy or our banking systems or others, or they commit a crime, and at the same time, they will go completely scot-free. These are the three. Now, with deepfake and AI, this will become, the misuse of these fake identities will become more paramount, because, see, one is I'm stealing your identity. Second is, now I have your voice, I can make your deepfake. Combination of this, even when you do KYC, even when I have to give a call, I have to orchestrate a crime, I am impersonating your voice also. So practically all layer of measures which I tell you to secure yourself are getting, yeah, absolutely. So this with technology, I think it's high time that we need to understand at the very initial stage, and at the same time, we need technological measures. Along with it, we need our systems to be foolproof. And for that, I think uh, uh, Digital Data Protection Act is one good move that has come up, that sharing of data without your permission and some security measures that data fiduciaries, the companies have to follow, will bring in at least some security sense over there. And our data, your and my data, which is in the hands of the company, is not seamlessly shared without any obligation or accountability for that matter.
Okay. Thank you, Khushbu. You've kind of provided us with a overview of the different kinds of issues that can take place, the different kinds of theft that can happen. And that's a new one. I really want to highlight that for our audiences, the synthetic identity theft that can now take place, the creation of a new identity. Let's go over to Dr. Muktesh for a second. Doctor, tell our audiences this. You're sitting at home and you get the first inkling that something could have taken place. What do you tell our audiences to do? I ask you that because if you just Google it, one of the first things that comes up is place a credit freeze if you can. But I just want to ask you, which of the actions you should take immediately are the ones that are lighter, which are reversible, and which will be irreversible, so you should really make sure that something has taken place before you do them?
Thank you, Toya. But the problem here we are discussing is synthetic identity theft. The problem here is that if there is a victim, a pure identity theft has taken place, then you can always raise information to the police and 1930 cybercrime center, reporting center on a portal. Within 3 hours, the chances of reversal of your money are very, very high. But in case of a synthetic identity theft, there is no real person involved. It is your information which has been used and which is mixed with some other fictitious identity, and then the case of a synthetic identity theft comes in. So therefore here the section 66 of IT Act will not be applicable because there is no real victim. It's a synthetic person. Therefore, the chances of getting caught are very less in this kind of thing. And this synthetic identity is used to obtain credit card loans, to obtain car loans, and commit all kinds of financial frauds, including money laundering. And there is no real victim involved. The real victim may be the bank itself. So the problem today is that at every shop we go, they will ask your mobile number. Now, for example, I even have a mobile in my hand, but I say I don't carry a mobile. So the store will say, no, you'll get some points. You have your mobile. I say that it is not for you. So do not share your information just like that. When you share your Aadhaar card for some authentication purpose, use masked Aadhaar card where all the digits are not visible. And the problem also is that such data is available on dark web. 1 rupee per Aadhaar card is available. So one has to be careful. For example, how many SIM cards are being used in your name? You can check that online. So maybe you applied for 1 SIM card and 9 more are being used in your name, because that same Aadhaar card was used with another photo and another address. So one has to be careful in sharing the personal data. Right. And as Khushbu was mentioning, DPDP Act has been promulgated, but so far the rules have not come. So effectively, it is still not applicable in many ways, because the rules have not been issued in this kind. The last point I want to make here is that Aadhaar-based authentication. Even today, many places, the Aadhaar is only used for target delivery of services. For authentication purpose, which is if your Aadhaar is connected to your mobile number and somebody is using, then the OTP will come on your mobile. That is where the complete authentication will take place. So the synthetic identity theft fraud can be stopped or reduced considerably by using multi-factor authentication, by using biometric authentication, and also OTP-based authentication of the identity.
Right. So all valid points there, Dr. Chandar, but let me bring in Khushbu back in the conversation. Khushbu, we live in a 10-minute world. 10-minute delivery, 10-minute loan, 10-minute authentication, 10-minute for getting a house, 10-minute for getting an insurance. These quick ways that we sort of pride ourselves in, these quick ways that India is going to be, the leap in the digital world, and then to expect people to sort of not have the complete identity back up in place. Digital literacy, a major issue in a country like ours. So what exactly is the way to move forward here then?
Number one, awareness. All of us need awareness that how much data can impact, how data can be misused. In case if it is a misuse, what one has to do. As rightly said earlier by you and sir as well, that people in the garb of getting some benefits, some scheme or timely delivery, we are okay in sharing our data seamlessly wherever possible. You need to understand that sharing of data can be very detrimental when it comes to any kind of crime that is happening on you. Like, I'll give you one very small example. If I have more data about you, it will be very easy for me to make you believe in anything that I'm saying, to make you trust me. So that's where I think with digital literacy, we need to have our, as I said before also, we need to have awareness that none of us share our data seamlessly wherever possible, restricted, limited to the purpose for which it is being required, where it is necessary, for the kind of services that you're taking. Like, for example, if I'm calling for Uber, I need to provide my location then and there. But I need not provide Uber my location, my access to my phone gallery, access to my my phone book, or for that matter, any other information, or seamless sharing of information. It can be at the time I'm utilizing the app, only restricted to that. So I think all of us utilizing phone, utilizing technology need to understand how to keep that secure. Do not share your passwords. Do not do screen sharing. I think these are the things which are been there from past 10 years. But now is the time when we are so dependent on technology that we need to learn how to make best use of it. At the same time, how to keep ourselves secure. Even if you get technology, if you and me are not aware about it and how to make use of it, it won't work.
Yeah.
Identity fraud, one can still make out, one can still complain.
Yeah.
Synthetic fraud will be the biggest challenge that government will face tomorrow. All of us will face tomorrow. We can't go back to the days where we don't have digital aspect to it and we, physically go to the bank. I think 4 of us would not go to bank today to do things. And, we want even the bank account to be open sitting at home and things to be done. Now, if somebody steals my identity, it will create a problem. Now, if somebody creates a synthetic identity, practically our banking system will go bust. They would not be able to take such huge losses. Our country's economy will go standstill if such kind of things keep on happening. So I think that's where we need to keep a stop. Some basic awareness, hygiene awareness, as you and me have to keep ourselves aware about. That would be, do not share your unnecessary information. Keep yourself safe. Be vigilant in checking your credit card histories.
Yeah.
Even your whether some loan is done or not. There are some portals created by Government of India. Go over there and check yourself. Ministry of Telecommunications, Sanchar Bharti has got a portal where you can go and check where TEFCOP and Chakshu, where you can go and check if some other phone number is issued by your Aadhaar card. At the same time, be vigilant, search yourself online. I'm saying search yourself online weekly. There can be an aspect where somebody has created your identity even there. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Search your organization's identity. Search your position and your organization if somebody is using that as well for, as a step forward. These are the things which can be done at our end. Now, when it comes to banks, when it comes to financial institutions, when it comes to other areas, I think they have to bring in more sophisticated KYC. There has to be more of technology. And we can't, as I said, now this is literally 20% of what can be done by you and me. The rest 80% still stays with at the level where the companies are residing, and they have to bring in those technologies in place. The goal of providing services and taking the data, they cannot not use of technology and think of security, because in today's world, security is something which is paramount, and nobody can ignore that part.
Okay.
And the third that goes is, if something happens,
No, Khushbu, I do want to say you and Dr. Muktesh, let's just quickly summarize that for the audiences, because the brunt of what both of you have said is that it is really our systems that need to upgrade themselves. We'll do that for our audiences. We'll tell them the 2080 breakdown, but you've said that the brunt of change that needs to take place, especially as synthetic identity fraud becomes a thing, creating new personas via AI becomes a thing. It's really our systems that need to upgrade themselves. But I love that you've also told our audiences, go home, Google, take care, look at your name, look up to see, use the government websites to see how many, for example, SIM cards are taken out in your name. Do the basics too on your case. All right, Khushbu and Dr. Muktesh, thank you for joining us this morning, for bringing us this. We're going to head into a quick break. On the other side of the break... No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was saying that if I may add, we've come at a time when we've got to safeguard our identity as much as we safeguard our UPI PIN. It's as important. And thinking that just because your money's in the bank, it's safe is no longer the case.
Right.
And that's where really the focus needs to go. But you know, more on that, and there is so much that can be spoken actually on this subject.
Right, let's take our audiences now into a quick break, but we promise you this is a story we aren't leaving anywhere. Like we've had Dr. Muktesh and Khushbu on the show, we will keep bringing them on, other experts on, to tell you how to be digitally aware, how to keep your information safe. Let's head into a quick break now. After the break, we're taking you to something entirely different. We're bringing you the Maharani of Baroda on being a royal. She'll be telling us what goes on in her day to day. So right from when she wakes up in the morning, how she lives her whole day, and she tells us reality is far from sparkling. She's our person of interest. We'll see you and her in just a few minutes.
At LOreal Group.
Welcome back. You're watching The Breakfast Club, and it's time where we take you through some stories from India and across the globe. Let's start, in fact, with what's happening in Mumbai, where torrential rainfall in Mumbai has caused severe waterlogging, flight diversions, halted trains, and disrupted the city. Train services resumed after the city was affected by rains last evening, causing trains and traffic disruptions due to severe water logging. 14 flights arriving at the Mumbai airport had to be diverted and landed at other airports, and Indigo has issued travel advisory for all passengers as well. In addition, schools and colleges have been shut for the day as a red alert by the monsoon, and the IMD department has been sounded.
And we take you now from India to Thailand. People gathered in central Bangkok on Wednesday to celebrate the passage of the same-sex marriage law. The event featured a vibrant rainbow-coloured canvas, performers dancing, attendees signing their wishes on a white canvas. Thailand's king has now endorsed a marriage equality bill passed by parliament earlier this year. It officially makes the kingdom the first country in Southeast Asia, the third place in Asia, to recognize the marriage of same-sex couples.
A new wax figure of singer Rihanna sporting a mini-coloured dress is going on display at the Madame Tussauds in London. The figure is inspired by the custom Fenty mini dress, the mint dress over there, matching sheer jacket and gloves and the Fulani braids. And also Rihanna wore, remember, she wore exactly that dress at the Fashion Awards in 2019. So that wax statue going up.
And Meta's head, Mark Zuckerberg, has unveiled Orion, the company's first working prototype of augmented reality glasses. This is along with updates to its existing virtual reality and artificial intelligence products. These glasses use AI to analyze and understand the surroundings, to anticipate and proactively address the needs of the user.
All right, can't wait for that one and try that on. But why stay at 5-star hotels? That's what our next story is about, when you can stay in a 3D printed one. Texas in the United States is set to get its world's first 3D printed hotel, and these won't be just boring rectangular structures. Instead, these are structures featuring organic curves and domes, and there is a synergy with the desert landscape as well. Check it out.
3D printing technology and the hospitality industry are converging in the West Texas desert.
It's fair to say we will be the first 3D printed hotel in the world.
Here on the grounds of El Cosmico, a 21-acre hotel and campground, an industrial-sized 3D printer is extruding layer after layer of concrete mixture to form the walls of 2 new model units. The plan is to extend the site by 40 extra acres to include 43 hotel units and 18 residential homes, 3D printed by Icon, an Austin, Texas-based 3D printing company. El Cosmico owner and hotelier Liz Lambert is inspired by the process.
I've never been able to build with such little constraint and such fluidity, and just the curves and the domes and the parabolas. It's a crazy way to build.
And we take you from that snapshot to something very different. Delightful news for you if you're a gaming lover. Japanese firm Nintendo is opening a museum. They're showcasing the history of Nintendo in just a few days from now. It's opening in Japan, so you'll have to travel. But fans of Super Mario, the Legends of Zelda, Game Boy, Switch, they can all gain an insight into how this company has continued to reinvent itself over the last century and more. Remember, this is a company that first started as a playing card company back in 1889. It's made all these changes. Take a look.
Fans of Super Mario, The Legend of Zelda, and the Game Boy will soon be able to gain insight into one of the world's most renowned game makers. A new museum by Japanese firm Nintendo is opening next week, showcasing the company's history. The museum, located in Japan's Uji, underscores its many evolutions, like the iconic Wii console and handheld Game Boy. Visitors will also see lesser-known products, such as the Mama Berica baby stroller and the Coppolis printer, in a push from Nintendo to expand beyond its core gaming business. The creator of Super Mario says the museum is intended to deepen understanding of the company, which was founded in 1889 as a maker of playing cards before becoming the global gaming giant that it's now known as. While game enthusiasts will likely try and secure tickets to the new museum, it might be harder than it looks.
If possible, I would like to go and visit the museum. But I heard that people had to wait for 2 months to get a ticket. I think it would be difficult to get in, even for locals.
But there's little doubt many will wait it out to see mustachioed plumber Mario in action.
Our person of interest today is one of the most intriguing personalities of modern day India. She's a former journalist, a heritage conservationist, a wildlife enthusiast, a history narrator, enthusiastic traveler, writer, public speaker. She's all of this. And she's also a queen. That's right, a real life Maharani. Maharani Radhika Raje Gaikwad of the erstwhile estate of Baroda.
But unlike what you might think, a day in the life of the Queen is sometimes as regular as the rest of us. She starts her day with, "Aaj khane mein kya hai?" TVC Sonal spoke with her about all things royal and some of her common experiences. What takes place in a day right from morning to night for the Queen? Take a look.
A lot of us wonder at times that what would it be like to be the queen of your life, of your little circle and the rest of it. But we thought it would be interesting to get a word from an actual queen and get her version of what life is like for you. Thank you so much for speaking with us, ma'am, on The Breakfast Club.
Thank you for having me.
I want to just start by understanding this. What does a day in a life for Maharani really look at? And let's start with breakfast.
Well, honestly, it begins with what is going to be made, prepared in your khana, lunch, dinner and the next breakfast. So I think it's as mundane and regular as it is for most women.
Yeah.
So not the most queenly moment to wake up to, but it is.
I know. So more decisions, what do you gravitate towards? Do you ensure nourishment is up on everybody's agenda, or is it a quick one?
I think nourishment, of course, but when you have children, teenagers who you don't know what they want, it's you can't plan for kids, because one day they like egg and the next day they like donuts, and you can't take anything for
nothing is enough and nothing is too good either, right? There is just no getting it right with them. But what happens then? The rest of the day you have so many responsibilities. We just spoke about the entire spectrum of things that you're working on. How do you find the time? How are you planning your day and how are you regimenting it?
I think as women we are all used to multitasking. I think it sounds big when you say all of it together, but I think it manages to seamlessly flow into each other. I think we do so many things as a woman in the home, So if you start breaking it up, yes, it sounds like a lot of things, but one flows into the other, and I think it's just a great sense of passion. It doesn't feel like work.
we've had a lot spoken about the biological clock and the career clock of women, and it is so nice that we stay in a day and age where women post in their 40s are really living their life. Women in their 40s and 50s feel like they have arrived, it is their time, kids have mostly been taken care of, and now is the thing. Do you sort of confide, sort of, relate to it at all, and did that happen that way for you?
Absolutely. There is a shift that happens in your 40s. And I felt it. It's just a kind of like something awakens in you. And it's a lot of unlearning that you've learned in your 20s. So I think, it's a lot of deconditioning about what your societal role is, how you perceive yourself, how you want to be perceived. I think a lot of us are trapped as Indian women, and I suppose it may be the same for women around the world, about what is expected of us. So a lot of it is, pulling those layers off which have been, conditionally placed on, and I find myself freer and more authentic than I've ever been. And I think that helps you focus on things that you really want to do in your life. And be unapologetic about it. It could be, learning how to bake, it could be learning how to run a company, but I think we just know what we want better in our 40s.
That's actually a good perspective at that one. But people dream to have a queen size life, but you are actually one. Are there things, apart from all the comforts and abundance that you perhaps come from, are there things that keep you up at night?
Of course. There are things that keep me up. Of course, the focus remains on children. The course that your children are going to take. My girls are now transitioning. They are in teenagers. They're flying out of the nest. So that is it's a heavy heart for me as a mother. But other than that, I think I feel strongly about too many things, and that's why I've involved myself in so many things organically. It wasn't my plan. But whether it's the artisans, whether it's the LGBTQI community, whether it's women causes, whether it's culture, traditions, there's the community. So I feel quite expansive in that sense. And if you put yourself out there, you are going to feel vulnerable and frail at times. So yeah, I do feel like the issue, the rape that happened in Kolkata, that's kept me up at night. It's been an emotional turmoil for me. The Hathras case. So as as a mother, as a woman, I feel very vulnerable at times. I'm sure all of us do.
Wow. So even a Maharani feels vulnerable, and there are experiences that sort of teach you that. I'm sure it's coming from a space of being a mother as well. But what do we do then? In positions of power, women who have a voice, people like you, what can be done?
I think it's important to start having these uncomfortable conversations. The fact that this disparity exists, that women are not safe, that the girl child is in many ways compromised, is disadvantaged from birth. And I think these are important platforms to talk about it. When we celebrate the women who are empowered and awakened and enabled, and that's great. But it becomes a greater responsibility for us to speak and represent those that are not. And how do we handhold them and bring them where you and I are?
Yeah. But okay, let me pivot right now to ask you something interesting. So a lot of people, like I said, it's a dream life, it's a queen size life. But tell me some common day folks, sort of common experiences that have both kept you very happy and ones that have really shocked you.
Oh, I had a very funny experience right now when I was coming down here. I had a lady come and hug me so warmly, and she's saying, Maharani Gayatri Devi. I said, Madam, वो काफी साल पहले गुजर गई है. So I think she mistook me for a bhoot atma, but.
Okay, so that's a fun one. Did you correct her? What did you say?
Well, I did tell her she passed away, unfortunately, so I'm definitely not her. I think she had me figured out, but she got the name mixed up.
But one experience which you perhaps share with other women at the moment?
I think a lot of women come up and unload, so I do feel that there is that comfort level that they feel that they can express and share. But I do feel also responsibility that where do I take that story? Where do I take that lived experience of these particular women, which is coming to me for a reason, the need for them to share with me. It's, where do I take that? That is something that churns,
Yeah, that keeps you up and to sort of live up to that expectation. I think that's where it's coming from. But I want to sort of navigate the conversation towards something which is on top of everybody's mind, every woman's mind definitely at the moment. We had Nirbhaya, we had Hathras, now we had the Kolkata case as well. These things, though being reported, being spoken about, we are still not really getting it right somehow. Talk to me about your personal experiences. Tell me about how have you sort of been in this sort of so-called patriarchal setup. How have you navigated?
I think as a patriarchal setup, I think there is, of course, the perceived notion of the male, it's a very structured way of how a patriarchal society works, and that's how men kind of understand and work. It comes from a place of system and tradition. Fortunately for me, we are two sisters. My mother is a central figure in our family. My mother-in-law is a very, very strong figure in our family. So there has been a strong female role play in our families, which kind of helps me also pave the path. But how do I take it from here becomes, how do we navigate it further for my daughters is something that both the girls and I, we continue to have this conversation on how they want me to be as a role model, and how where they wish to take it. So a lot of that is there, but I think as a woman, however abundance and privilege one may have, I think a woman in India, and I'm sure in many parts of the world, I must say, one has gone through some level of gender violence, of aggression, of disrespect, whether it's emotional, it's verbal, it's physical. It's just that we have learned to normalize it to such an extent. It may happen at a family level, it may happen at a work level, it may happen for me. I mean, I felt violated in public spaces.
One second.
Yes, of course.
Say that again.
I think as a student, I remember, being in a crowded place, and I have been, pinched and pushed in inappropriate ways. But I don't think this conversation ever occurred because I knew everyone else has gone through it. It was normalized to such an extent. And when instances like this come up, it realizes that the men are not conditioned to hear these stories. So very few actually know what a woman's day-to-day is. That growing up in Delhi, this has been my story, right? So and really, I don't know anyone else who has not. And I try and have these conversations now with women, and there are very few who would say they have not experienced some level of disrespect as a woman, physically. And but are these stories being communicated to men? Are they being sensitized to it? Because violence is not confined to necessarily a strata or a particular location. It's not that you go to that street and you're going to get groped. It could happen anywhere. So
it could, and very powerful, I think, coming from somebody like you, because that's when the message really goes out. That's when people realize how normal it is. It doesn't matter. Gender is the biggest discrimination. It's not class, it's not section, it's nothing. Gender is the biggest discrimination, and that is what we need to sort of fight out. Before I let you go, if you had to describe what you do in one word, a modern day Maharani, if you had to give your sort of portfolio in a way and not go down to nitty-gritties, but just describe who you are, what would you say?
I think I'm just someone who embraces different experiences. I think that's what it is. I just absorb and try and give it meaning. Yeah.
All right, we leave it there for the moment. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was lovely.
Likewise.
Lovely chatting up. Yeah, and
Thank
that's
you.
a gorgeous sari that you're wearing. Yeah.
Thank you.
So can you imagine today's Maharani also groped in public? That's the issue that needs to be spoken about more and more. But let's switch tracks now, quite literally this time, as we dive into the review of the 2024 Hyundai Alcazar and its facelift. The 2024 Alcazar has been launched with prices between about 14.99 lakhs to about 21.55 lakhs as well. But what exactly does it have?
Overdrive obviously gets you the details on the drive, how the cabin ambience is, new auto headlamps, ventilated seats, and very interestingly, now a memory function in the driver's seat, which means that multiple different drivers can actually save their preferred seat adjustment. If you're tall, if you're short, you can have the car actually remember that. Watch this review for the breakdown. Take a look.
The Hyundai Creta has you more or less covered with whatever you might want from a mid-sized SUV. The Hyundai Alcazar's job has been to add that extra dose of practicality and luxury. There's a new one out now, it's a facelift, but let's see what it's like. The Hyundai Alcazar facelift continues to be offered with the same engines as before. These are the 1.5-litre turbo petrol with 160 PS and 253 Nm, paired with the 7-speed DCT and the 1.5 diesel with 116 PS and 250 Nm with a 6-speed torque converter. There's also a 6-speed manual on offer with both. Now we are driving the Alcazar with the 1.5 turbo petrol and the DCT, and to be honest, the experience is very similar to the Creta. You wouldn't be surprised of course by that. But I must say that even though it's pulling a lot more weight, the engine is still reasonably sprightly. Now yes, the 0 to 100 time that's claimed of 9.5 seconds is a bit slower than what we've tested the turbo petrol Creta that ducks under 9, and it feels as such on the move too. You do notice you're pulling along a bit more weight, but it in no way feels laboured, so it's still agile. So the engine is still especially refined, and yes, of course it takes some waking up, but once it does, it has that really smooth linear power band to it. It's not the most exciting turbo petrol engine of course, but it is effective. But it does happen to be quite a refined motor. It's not too loud or clattery at city speeds, and wind noise is well in check at higher speeds as well. You get the drive and traction modes here too, and they work much in the same way as the Creta. The drive modes progressively sharpen engine and gearbox responses, while the traction modes change the responses again, and also the traction control maps to match various terrains. The gearbox, like before, seems quite well matched to the engine. It doesn't feel hesitant at lower speeds and usually has you right where you need to be in the power band. You only really notice it in heavier driving, where it could be a bit more aggressive with its shifts, say during a high-speed overtake, but the sport mode improves this a notch. But for most needs, the default normal mode is good enough. Now where there is some difference from the Creta is in the way the Alcazar rides and handles. Now that's obviously because of the longer wheelbase, the 150mm that's been added, and generally the longer length of the car, and also the fact that these top-end versions ride on 18-inch wheels against the 17s in the Creta. Even with the larger wheels, Hyundai has managed to hold on to that good ride that the Creta has become quite well known for with this generation or with this latest update. So say over a broken patch of road like we are on right now, yeah, you do feel it a bit more. The 18-inch wheels, a bit more of it is sort of transmitted into the cabin, so to speak. There is a slightly firmer edge, but it's never uncomfortable or harsh or noisy in here. So if you take it easy, it just sort of does its best to sort of smooth over these imperfections. And yeah, it does have that quite stable, secure feel to it, even on these surfaces. It's got a nice balance between being light for city use, but it's also quite precise, so even on the highway you won't be second guessing yourself too much. So you do notice that it has a bit more stability at higher speeds doing highway speeds, but again it's marginal. You'll have to drive both this and the Creta back to back to really notice that. So if you like driving, it's okay for you. If you aren't really interested in all of these things, then that's also fine. It's just a safe, reliable way to sort of get from one place to other.
I think Alcazar is the best.
Next, we take you from the roads. We're actually going to be taking you straight to London, where Priyanka Chopra stunned. This is at a London premiere, the screening of Citadel, alongside Samantha Ruth Prabhu. She was also, of course, in attendance at that screening with other actors. They're all going to star in future seasons of Citadel. Priyanka Chopra Jonas obviously stunning in the first season.
So this is an inside look at the star-studded event where she shared laughs, some style moments. As always, it's Priyanka. What else do you expect? Samantha Ruth Prabhu and Mehrotra Divengers.
and everything that Priyanka Chopra Jonas does or is involved in instantly becomes mega viral. After all, she's our queen for more reasons than one. This time, her recent public outing has grabbed all the eyeballs and for all the right reasons. Recently, Priyanka Chopra attended a special screening of Citadel's India and Italy versions in London. As we can see, Priyanka couldn't stop giggling as she posed with Citadel Honey Bunny star Samantha Ruthprabhu and Citadel Diana star Matilda De Angelis. The picture looks like a perfectly captured moment. While Matilda was seen in a golden outfit, our Desi girl Priyanka wore a bright red floor-length gown, a high neckline and sparkling metal balls on the waist. The dress hugged her curves perfectly. Samantha, on the other hand, rocked a unique outfit featuring a strapless corset top and sheer beaded pants. If we look at her ensemble closely, the pants were made of blue crystal beads and had a see-through design, while the top had a pleated, body-hugging fit with a train in the back. While we can't stop looking at their pictures, we have noticed that Varun Dhawan, who stars alongside Samantha in the Indian version of Citadel, was missing from the photos. For the unversed, Citadel Honey Bunny stars Samantha, Varun Dhawan, KK Menon, Saqib Salim and Sikandar Kher. The show follows Samantha and Varun as spies on separate missions. It's a spin-off of the original Citadel series starring Priyanka Chopra and Richard Madden. The show will be released on November 7 on Prime Video. Have you watched the Priyanka and Richard Citadel series yet? And are you excited to watch Samantha and Varun together on screen?
Alright, next we bring you a special segment of the financial markets powered by Money Control Pro, Money Control's premium destination for investing and business insights. Let's start with markets and how they're pegged to open this morning. GIFT Nifty indicates a positive start for the Indian equities today. US markets stay positive and closed higher on Wednesday. Asian equities, meanwhile, opened higher on Thursday on China stimulus measures, and gold sort of scales record highs.
Take a look at a sector in the FMCG market, the relatively under-penetrated categories. Biscuits, bakeries, they're making their mark as we speak. Starting from a local presence, many regional players are now harboring pan-India aspirations. The premiumization of the portfolio is also working very well. Export markets also remain an area worth watching out for within this category. You can log into Money Control Pro. You can find out more about this segment and various other actionable insights on the markets. It is the premier destination for all investing views, for all financial insights that you're ever going to need, brought to you by Money Control.
With that, it's time to say bye-bye for the day. But if you have faced any other scam, we keep, coming across a latest one every day. Please do write into us. Let us know how it happened. We'll try and put the information out for everybody to sort of be aware and learn from it as well. And we will see you tomorrow.
Goodbye.
At LOreal.
Good morning, viewers. Hello and welcome to the Morning News Show, where we bring you the latest headlines and insightful stories to kickstart your day. I'm Koina Sharma and you are watching CNN News 18. First up, on top of this bulletin, we're tracking some updates on the Karnataka's Muda scam. Now, there's a massive political face-off, and a day after a special court in Bengaluru ordered Lokayukta to probe into CM Siddharamaia's Muda scam, the BJP is now intensifying the protest, seeking CM's resignation. Now, the BJP has also demanded a CBI probe, saying that the Lokayukta will not be able to carry out an impartial probe while the CM continues in his position. Now, party leaders and legislatures are all set to protest in front of the Gandhi statue today. Now, in the meantime, legal team of Siddharamaiah is weighing its options on the next legal move. Yesterday, the BJP and JDS tried to lay siege to Siddharamaiah's residence, holding posters and placards and raising slogans. Members of BJP and Yuva Morcha marched towards Kaveri, but the police stopped their attempt and took them into preventive custody.
Siddharamaiah